Lip syncs are one of the cornerstones of RuPaul's Drag Race, and undoubtedly one of the most endearing aspects of the show. From splits, dips, flips, duck walks, campy performances, and emotional ones, lip sync have proven to be incredibly successful, with tons of lip sync compilations published every year and the fans consistently discussing those performances. However, over the years, lip sync have changed. Specifically, the way they are edited has changed. Wide shots where both queens can be clearly seen performing side by side have become increasingly rare, while reaction shots from the judges and confessionals from other queens play a much bigger role in influencing the viewer's perception of a performance. So over time, fans slowly started to realize that modern lip syncs might not be just about talent. Why is this happening? Well, there are 1,000,001 reasons to rig a lip sync, but as far as I noticed, most of the time it's just a production choice. Storylines and character evolution play a big role in engaging the audience by creating a compelling narrative for the show. They are in essence the backbone of good reality television, so it's no surprise that sometimes a queen with better character development gets a little bit of help in the editing room, especially if she needs it. But how can you tell if a lip sync was rigged or not? Well, some people would say that if a queen that was, quote, killing it gets eliminated, or a queen that was, quote, not doing that much ends up winning, then the lip sync was definitely rigged. However, those are all subjective opinions, and our points of view can differ wildly depending on our own personal taste. So, of course, there are some technical aspects to a lip sync that we can all agree on, but it's really difficult to apply this line of reasoning to every lip sync and then come to a conclusion that we can all agree on. In addition, the lip sync performances are heavily edited, and what we see on screen is not necessarily an accurate representation of what happened on stage. Take Candy Muse, for example. Candy had a very compelling redemption storyline in season 13, and a lot of time was undoubtedly invested during filming and post-production in order to make her character evolution a centerpiece of season 13. Well, last year, she said this.
And if you know you fucked up on that Friday and you're over the weekend and you're home like, girl, let me learn these songs. And of course, I never learned any songs.
So is there an objective way to tell if a lip sync was rigged or not? Well, the bad news is that unless you have been physically there during filming, there's really no way to be 100% sure. But I think that we can get very close to an answer by analyzing the way the lip sync was actually edited. I believe that if a queen is given more screen time than the other, has good reaction shots from the judges, good confessionals, and the camera angles are used to highlight her performance at the expense of the other queen, well, then we can conclude that the edit of the lip sync was rigged in her favor. And if production rigs the edit of a lip sync, well, then they must have a good reason to do so. And that's how we're going to get closer to the truth. So, since I have so much time on my hands, I created an entirely new objective method based on those ideas. So first, I'm going to set up a point system. I will divide the lip sync into sections, each section being a different camera shot. The length of a section represents the number of points that can be assigned to each queen's edit. Points can be positive or negative, they can be doubled or even tripled, and that depends on the reaction shots from the judges and the queens, the confessionals, the camera angles that are used, special effects, sound effects, or really anything that was used in the editing room in order to affect the way a queen is perceived, either in a positive or negative way. Once I tallied all of those points, if both queens end up with a similar amount of points, well, then it means that the edit favored each queen equally, and the lip sync was fair. If one queen has significantly more points than the other, well, then the edit was rigged in her favor. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through the entire process, that would be incredibly boring. But I will just explain a couple more details so that you can understand what's going on, and then discuss the final results with you. Keep in mind that this system is not perfect, and there is always room for improvement, so if you have any suggestion, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Also, remember, and this is really important, we are not here to judge the queen's performances. The points don't represent how good or bad a queen was at performing, but how much the edit was in her favor. When only one queen is shown on screen, it means that the edit is trying to focus the viewer's attention on her performance, and the queen gets actual screen time to showcase herself. The length of the camera shot represents the number of points assigned to her edit. If there is a camera shot where both queens appears together on screen, like side by side for example, both of them will receive points, unless the camera angle is used in such a way as to highlight the performance of one queen at the expense of the other. Let me show you exactly what I mean by this. When a queen is shown on the foreground while the other is in the background, it creates the perception that one is overshadowing the other, especially if the queen in the background has been partially edited out from the shot. The same is true if one queen is not facing the camera or moving away from the camera. Those are editing tricks. They work on a more subconscious level, and they are designed to fool your brain into creating a fake perception of what's going on. They work very much in the same way sound effects and shady noises work. And although this is something that might not be immediately obvious to the casual viewer, like many editing tricks, once you start to notice, you won't be able to unsee it. So, when camera angles are used in this way, the highlighted queen will get positive points, while the other will get negative points. Reaction shots of the judges and confessionals from the other queens are one of the biggest factors in influencing the viewer's perception of a lip sync. For this reason, whenever a section is followed by a reaction shot or a confessional, it will be worth double the points, either positive or negative, depending if the reaction shot or confessional was positive or negative. Sound effects and special effects can be equally used to highlight a performance in a positive or negative way, and they act as point doublers as well. And one last thing. Sometimes reaction shots are edited into a different section of a lip sync, and there is an actual mismatch between where the judges are looking and where the queens they are supposed to be reacting to actually is. Let me show you what I mean. In this lip sync, there's a positive reaction shot of Ariana Grande, as if she was living for Amethyst's performance. Unfortunately, Amethyst was on the right side of the stage, while Ariana's eyes are looking to the left side of the stage. Now, as a comparison, this is a shot of Ariana reacting to Amethyst when Amethyst is actually on the right side of the stage. See how she's looking in different directions? And this is not all. The editors went as far as to cut the shot of Amethyst slightly off-center to the left, as if to create the illusion that Ariana was actually looking in her direction. I think in cinematography this is called consistent angle or something like that, but if there's an expert, please let me know. Now, I think that this kind of editing is incredibly cheap. It's dishonest and it's really intrusive. So for this reason, whenever a section is highlighted by a mismatched reaction shot, it will be awarded triple the points, as to signify that the editors tried really, really hard to influence the audience. And the same applies to confessionals that could have been doctored. Now that we have the explanation out of the way, let's dive into this week's lip sync. The lip sync lasts for 1 minute and 59.3 seconds. Irene is shown solo on screen for 36 seconds and gets a positive reaction shot from Ross. Amethyst is shown solo for 45.7 seconds and gets 4 positive reaction shots, 3 from Ariana, and one of those is the mismatched reaction that I showed you before, and 1 from Michelle. The queens are shown together on screen for 29.8 seconds, and together they get 1 positive reaction shot from Michelle. In this lip sync, there's also a reaction shot of RuPaul, looking from one queen to the other. I consider this one neutral, since her expression really doesn't change, she just looks interested in both performances. There's also a confessional from Baby Doll, telling us that the lip sync is hard to call, and I consider this one neutral as well. In total, reaction shots and confessionals account for 7.8 seconds of the lip sync time. What I find really interesting about these numbers is the massive amount of time in which we see only one queen on screen. The queens are shown solo for a whopping 73% of the time. That's actually triple the time when we actually see them side by side. Why do we have so many solo shots? Now, personally, I think because this way it's much easier to rig a lip sync. If the queens are shown side by side the entire time, well, it would be much easier for the audience to compare their performances and then form an opinion about which one did better. But when you have solo shots, the editors can easily pick and choose what we see of their performances. By jumping from one queen to the other, it becomes trivial to hide the mistakes of the queen they wish to favor, or hide great moments of the queen that has to lose. Also, as we have seen in season 13 with Simone and Candy Muse, solo shots can be used to make a queen time travel during a lip sync. No, I'm not bullshitting you. It really happened. But that's another story for another time. Now, let's take a look at the camera shots and the points for each queen's edit. Irene is shown solo in 19 different camera shots, and their solo edit gets a total of 37.3 points. Ross reacts positively to camera shot number 10, and the points are doubled for this section. Amethyst is shown solo in 21 different camera shots, and their solo edit gets a total of 60.37 points. We have a mismatched positive reaction shot from Ariana for shot number 3, so this section gets triple the points. There are 2 more positive reaction shots from Ariana and 1 from Michelle, and these sections are worth double points. A special case is what happened in shot number 12, and I'm going to show you this. I consider this one a solo shot of Amethyst. However, if you look closely, Irene is right behind her. The editors deliberately decided to crop this camera shot in order to hide Irene and only show Amethyst. And for this reason, this section is worth double the points. Now let's take a look at the camera shots where both of the queens are on screen together. There are 14 in total, 6 camera shots are neutral and don't favor any queen, so both of the queens get points. Camera shot number 3 gets a positive reaction shot from Michelle, so the points are doubled for both queens. Irene is highlighted in 2 camera shots, while Amethyst in 6. The highlighted queen gets points, while the queen in the background loses points. Camera shot number 12 is followed by a positive reaction shot of Ariana. Since the camera angle is working in Amethyst's favor, her edit gets double the points, while Irene's double negative points. Now, if you survived all of this, let's get to the final results. Irene's edit gets a grand total of 50.67 points, which is 37.6% of the total points, while Amethyst's gets 83.33 points, which corresponds to 62.4% of the total point. And with Amethyst being favored by the edit almost twice as much as Irene, we can conclude that the edit for this lip sync was rigged. However, not as bad as you might think, because I started developing this method a couple of years ago and tested it for the first time during season 14. It can get much worse than this. I'm sure that during season 15 we'll find at least a couple of lip syncs that are completely rigged top to bottom, and you will see exactly what I mean. So what was the point of rigging the edit of this lip sync? Well, personally, I think because both queens did reasonably well. This was not a Denali versus Camora kind of lip sync where you can clearly see that one is murdering the other. However, the producers of RuPaul's Drag Race seem to be obsessed with convincing the audience that their decision is always the right one. And that's why, in my opinion, the edit was shifted so much in favor of Amethyst. Also, during the 2 premieres, Irene was mostly used as the narrator, carrying the old versus young storyline and introducing other characters on the show. The fact that her edit was mostly used in favor of others already tells us that the producers chose not to showcase any storyline for her, meaning that, yeah, she was going to go home. But again, with RuPaul's Drag Race, you never know if a queen might come back. It's a possibility. I don't believe it to be very realistic, but let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for joining me, and a special thanks to our patrons for supporting the channel. Follow the link in the description if you wish to become a patron yourself and support the channel and this series. I'll see you on Sunday for our weekly livestream and review of episode 3. In the meantime, have a great week.